Well, you can't really see it because it's not really happening, but it's snowing here, and I'm sitting on the side of the interstate at a staging spot with a truck. I'm now going on hour 18, and I've yet to go anywhere. You ever wonder why your states are teetering on bankruptcy? 10,000 snowplow trucks all sitting on the side of the road waiting for the snow for 17, 18 hours. And yeah, that's where it starts. Anyhow, as I sit here and think, I was thinking, if you could go back and change something, what would you change? Would you do better in high school? Would you get involved in different sports? Would you not drive fast? Would your first car get good gas mileage instead of go like hell? Or would you want the car that went like hell? Or a big truck or whatever? You can go back. How would you change your life? And then it's like, what if you go back beyond that? If you could go back and you look at the political situation and it's not really going the way the Constitution outlines. So when could you go back and when could you go back to make a change? When was it the good old days? Back in the 70s when I grew up in New Jersey, it was the good old days. It was a fun place to be, and it changed. So if I went back to 1975 and told everybody what was going to happen, would it change anything? No. Highways still would go through. People would still come out from the cities. Area would get developed, and it would all change. What if you went back to the 50s? When life was great. The World War II was over. The Korean War settled down. Everybody was home. It's good times. Well, good times weren't always that good. And it was that generation that won the war that didn't want their children fighting the war, that they didn't want going through the depression and feeling the what it's like to go without. They kind of spoiled their kids, which led to the 60s, which led to the 70s, which led to where we are now. So you got to go back before that. So do you go back before World War II? Do you go back to the end of World War I and tell Wilson that the League of Nations and everything is a horrible idea, don't get involved, stick to the principles, no foreign entanglements? If you told him I'm from the future, you'd probably say, okay, well, I'll have a meeting with you in that room with the padding on the walls, and nobody ever see you again. So that probably wouldn't work out too good. If there's any spot you could go to and change, is there a spot where you can pinpoint it and say that's the point where everything kind of started falling apart? And was it the Civil War? The South said we want to do this, and the North said we want to do that. The War of Northern Aggression or the Civil War, depending on your perspective. No, it was before that. It was just kind of like a glitch in the program that was going to lead here at some point. And the only thing you can really do is what you can do right now. And that's it. There's no looking back. There's no time machines. But if you think, well, I'm going to make that lone wolf stand, well, look at history. Look at Timothy McVeigh. He had his reasons for blowing up the Oklahoma City building, federal building, and you listen to him and it seemed to make sense. You listen, I remember the original reports. There was 2 explosions. He said there was explosives and stuff in the basement, and the CRC gas that they used on the Branch Davidians, and everything was staged out of that federal building, and that's why he blew it up. And then you go look at it now, and there's no reports of the 2 explosions. There's no eyewitness, footage, within interviews. It's all gone. You either lived it and you know it or not. But, how'd this work out for him? He thought he was going to fire the first shot, the first volley against the federal government. And he ended up, getting put to death. Some people say he didn't get put to death. That's all the debate. But you read the history book, he was a nut. And he blew up children. Not cool. So that whole plan of attack isn't going to work. John Wilkes Booth thought that it was a great idea to shoot Abraham Lincoln. That didn't really work out too well. Nothing changed. The South didn't rise up upon Lincoln's death. Nothing happened except either A, he went into hiding and the wrong guy got, executed, or he got executed. But he goes down in history as, the lone whack job. The only thing you can really do is vote. Is take care of your own, raise your kids right, try to teach them a good work ethic. Nobody's going to hand anything to you, and nothing that's worth a damn. And keep pushing forward. That's it. You can't go back and change anything. So you got to work forward. Talking to a friend, and he moved to Virginia earlier in the summer, and now he's a little bit unhappy with the idea that the proposed gun laws that just looking at this truck going 2 miles an hour down the road. I don't know what his problem is, but there's supposed to be a gun rally on January 20th, I guess, at the State House. Assuming I don't get sick or hurt or something, I'll probably be there. But I asked him if he's going, and he kind of, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be in Virginia anymore. He might, hasn't been there, hasn't really tied down any roots. He might have a tactical retrograde motion and get the hell out of there. But that's the wrong attitude too. You got to stand up. You got to show up with this stuff. You got to tell people that it doesn't work. But anyway, that's my deep thoughts for the last 17, 18 hours sitting in a truck in a parking lot waiting for the snow. Y'all have a good night.